Joe Burrow combined a certain level of swagger and grittiness that captivated a nation and inspired the Bengals to reach new heights that no one could have imagined this past year. However, this is nothing new for Burrow. At every level, he's been counted out, and like clockwork, at every level, he's turned his team around. Here is the story of Joe Burrow. Joe was born in Ames, Iowa in 1996 to Robin and Jim Burrow. His father, Jim, was a defensive back at Nebraska before being drafted by the Packers in the 1976 draft. After one season in Green Bay, Jim played in the Canadian Football League for 5 seasons, where he was a 2-time All-Star. He then transitioned to coaching, and Joe was actually born while his father was coaching at Iowa State. The Burrow athletic lineage dates back nearly a century. His grandmother set a Mississippi State high school record, scoring 82 points in a basketball game in the 1940s. His grandfather played D1 basketball at Mississippi State. His uncle played D1 football at Ole Miss. His 2 older brothers played D1 football at Nebraska. So it's safe to say that sports were in Joe's blood. While Joe playing football was obviously a given, playing quarterback was not. Everybody in his family had played on the other side of the ball. His dad as a defensive back, his brother Jamie as a middle linebacker, and his other brother Dan as a safety. In 3rd grade, though, Joe's team didn't have a quarterback, so it was up to the coach's son to step up. He was a natural from day one. While Joe's dad was coaching at North Dakota State in 2003, then North Dakota State offensive coordinator and future Central Michigan head coach Dan Enos apparently commented on how Joe had a future in football after watching him. The Burrows eventually settled in Athens, Ohio, as Jim was the defensive coordinator for the Ohio Bobcats from 2005 to 2018. Joe attended Athens High School, leading the football team to 3 straight playoff appearances and their first 7 playoff victories in school history. As a junior, he was named Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year and AP All-State. Even with those accolades, Joe felt like he was flying under the radar, so he slid into the Twitter DMs of a high school football recruiting analyst in Ohio. The message said, "I was wondering if there were any specific camps I should go to help get my name out there because I'm not really getting any attention." While it's unclear what advice Burrow received, it is clear that Joe began getting more than just a little attention. As a senior, he was selected as Ohio's Mr. Football, throwing for nearly 4,500 yards and 63 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions. In addition to dominating on the football field, Burrow also excelled on the hardwood, as he was an all-state point guard. Joe had several mid-major offers to play college basketball, but his primary focus was always football. On the gridiron, Joe was rated as a 4-star recruit and was the 8th highest-ranked dual-threat quarterback in the 2015 class. He committed to play football at Ohio State in May of 2014. Joe's time in Columbus did not get off to the fastest of starts, as he redshirted in 2015 before serving as the backup the next 2 seasons, throwing just 39 total passes. After not having gotten much of a chance to play with the Buckeyes, Burrow decided it was time for a fresh start, so he left OSU as a grad transfer. Joe actually only visited 2 schools during the transfer process, Cincinnati and LSU. Looking back now, it's pretty ironic that the Bearcats were considered. The people of Cincinnati probably wouldn't have minded getting Joey B a couple of years early, but it's safe to say everything worked out. After committing to LSU, it wasn't like Burrow was immediately handed the keys to the kingdom. Joe wasn't named the starter yet, as he had to beat out Miles Brennan in an intense competition. In his first season at Baton Rouge, Joe was about as solid as they come, throwing for 2,894 yards and 16 touchdowns with only 5 interceptions. Most importantly, he won games, starting all 13. Burrow led the Tigers to a 10-3 record and a Fiesta Bowl win over the undefeated UCF. Burrow took that momentum from the strong season and built off it to begin his senior campaign. In a Week 2 win on the road against 9th-ranked Texas, Burrow lit up the Longhorns as he threw for 471 yards, the second most in school history. By midseason, it had become clear that there was just no stopping this high-powered LSU offense led by Burrow. Joe confirmed this as he led the Tigers into Tuscaloosa to take on the 3rd-ranked Crimson Tide and hung 46 points on them while throwing for 393 yards. Joe went on to break LSU's single-season passing yards record with 2 regular season games and the entire postseason to spare. The Tigers finished the regular season undefeated before putting a 37-10 beatdown on 4th-ranked Georgia in the SEC title game as Burrow threw for 349 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Dogs. A week later, he won college football's most prestigious award, the Heisman Trophy, with the largest victory margin in the history of the award. It should also be noted that in his speech following winning the award, Burrow shouted out the local food bank back in Athens, Ohio, as he talked about the rampant poverty and food insecurity in his hometown. The move demonstrated Joe's outstanding character and led to more than $400,000 being donated. A year later, Athens High School named their football stadium after Burrow as a token of their appreciation. Back to his accomplishments on the field, Burrow somehow managed to take his game to a whole new level in the college football playoffs. LSU won both games by a combined 52 points as Joe threw for 956 yards and 12 touchdowns in the 2 games as LSU cruised to a national championship. Those are numbers you put up playing video games with the sliders turned down, not on college football's biggest stage. It was a fitting way to cap off a storybook senior season for Burrow. He finished the year with 5,671 passing yards and 60 passing touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Many consider it the greatest season in college football history. Having now turned around 2 different football programs at 2 different levels, it was time for Burrow to try to do it one more time in the pros. Thanks to his almost unbelievable senior season at LSU, it came as no surprise to anyone that the Cincinnati Bengals took Burrow with the first overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He was back in Ohio, and the weight of an entire city was now on his shoulders. In his rookie season with the Bengals, Burrow showed flashes of being the man capable of ending Cincinnati's suffering. He became the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw for 300 or more yards in 3 straight games and became the first rookie in league history to record at least 400 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a single game. However, things took a turn for the worse in a Week 11 matchup against the Washington football team when Burrow suffered a season-ending knee injury. Joe attacked his rehab just like everything else in life. His goal was to be back for Week 1 of the 2021 season, and of course, he achieved it. Burrow silenced his critics, leading the Bengals to a 10-7 record and an AFC North title. In the playoffs, he led his team to victories over the Raiders, Titans, and Chiefs, eventually reaching the Super Bowl. Although the Bengals fell just short to the Rams, Burrow inspired his team to fight until the very end. If his past is any indicator of his future, he'll be back on the big stage soon enough. And if you don't believe that, well, that's just the way Joe Burrow likes it.